Well, I stopped by City Lights. It's a bookstore, not a restaurant. And I was going to drop off a poem I just finished, and these two squares asked me about my friend, Allen Ginsberg. You know, I eyeballed them to be G-Man Fuzz, straight from Cube City. And I split, back to my pad to get the word out. But two more of these squares nabbed me in the alley, and one jabbed me with a hypo. And next thing I know, I'm in a hotel room in Toledo, Ohio that is, laying there wondering what the heck's going on. I found a letter. They told me that it was much later than I thought it was, and a bank account. I couldn't believe any of it at first. But man, I was smart enough to keep my mouth shut. Kind of shocking when you first come to, ain't it? I thought it was hell at first. Then I thought it was a dream. And now I know it happened. But cats like us, Freethinker, we endured what we did for something. And it wasn't so we could come back and prove how haywire our government is. They proved that for themselves. No, we have a greater mission. Yours is a TV show, and mine is a poet's candidacy for the presidency. Well then, let's just jump right in. What's the campaign all about? Man, it's pure protest. It's like a scream in the night. I am the angry candidate. I figure all you cats who've come up since the Beat generation have to identify with what I'm saying. I've seen this year's crop of presidential contenders, and I'm laughing. I hear America crying for a real leader, someone who knows. It's time we let a poet and a philosopher at the job, instead of these politicians who can't even come to terms with their own egos. America's changed a lot in the 30-plus years I was out, but politics hasn't changed one bit. They're still selling us the same garbage, and they can do it because we got no real choice. But do you really think you even have a chance? Freethinker, I grew up in a time when a lot about what America stood for was droned into the minds of children. And of all the things I was told about America when I was a boy, the only one I still believe is that in America anyone can grow up to be president. Ronald Reagan proved that. When I went out, that cat was still making chimp movies in Tinseltown. And from what I've read about him, he was asleep as president almost as much as I was in the last few years. Good point. But how are you going to go about this? You know, I mean, getting elected. 3 ways, dude. First, I'm going to take the people back to cool school by saying, hey, man, take a good look at these goods they're selling. And then I'm going to give you a plan that'll work. And then I'm going to give you a real choice to vote for. That's the plan. Okay. First, what are we going to look at? What goods are you telling us that they're selling us? In my catching up of watching old TV, it's weird because for me that's like watching the future explode before me and fast forward. But of all the stuff I've seen in the last 30 years, the one thing that moved me was the inauguration of JFK. When he said, man, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And see, people respond to that because it's the truth. Now, Reagan tricked us in the 1980 campaign by asking, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? These aren't the same things. But people responded to that because it was greed. So we go for the greed or we go for the truth. And when we have no choice between greed and truth, we're going to take what we got. It's a sad thing about America. They took our truth away. Whoa, that is heavy.